Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, peace be upon you. At the beginning of my speech, I would like to welcome you to Trend's sixth dialogue, which discusses the role of women in building peace. The reformation of women's issues in the community has become a main topic in many of the think tanks researches, and this significant change, and in spite of the outcomes gained by women, has not changed the current status. The advancement in economic and social levels makes it enough for a woman to take effective positions, but there is a difference between practice and theory, and this requires us to change a culture, to make a cultural change in the role of women within the community, in order through development and raising awareness among women to take the responsibility in the role of the social development, and try to overcome the contradictions in the lifestyle of the material lifestyle and social society that do not comply with them. Through this method, we pave the way for a new relationship between women and men, and it's human nature and based on mutual respect. Among these roles is the building peace, whether family peace, because it is the cornerstone for creating a cohesion and satisfaction atmosphere between the family members, or through economic peace, through balancing between the increasing expenses and limited resources, and finally political peace between conflicting parties and states, among them or even among the members of the same nations. Women have been all the way down part to conflicts, whether through carrying different roles in their capacities as peacemakers or fighters or family supporters or political figures or activists. It has been evidently clear that they have been under a lot of damage more than men, because inclusion of women in the building processes is a very strategic process, because inclusion of more than one point of view may achieve peace that is more sustainable. In a recent study published by the United Nations, it indicates that among the cases where women could practice effective and significant impact on negotiations, there has been more chance to reach peace and negotiations effectively compared to where the women's roles were less effective. In spite of that, on the practical level, there has been a lot of facts and statistics for the lack of equality and discrimination among women against women in the advanced and developing countries, which has an impact on their roles to achieve peace or building peace. On that ground, there should have been a dialogue and open discussion about this topic, so that through such a discussion we can bridge such a gap about on the current status of women and what should it be, so that a woman could have a more effective role in the development of societies. And in order to significantly participate in building process and achieving process on the significant and social and human levels, Trend's sixth dialogue discusses the role of women in building peace through main topics. Each speaker will have 10 minutes. We'll start our speech today with Dr. Roya Thabit, the official representative of the Baha'i community in the UAE. She will talk about the role of women through the civil state, this state which always tries to achieve equality and social justice among the society members. Dr. Aya, the floor is yours. Thank you. I would like to thank Trent for researches and consultancies for this symposium, which highlights the international role of women for building peace and achieving peace. It has been a long objective and a main objective all the way down among historically and historic process to achieve peace. Now we are about to achieve this, and we can consider peace is the second evidential process for the development of humanity, which is established by equal participation of women and men. Peace that we see nowadays and we aspire for is just more than put an ending to conflicts and disarmament, but we need to have a unified world in all aspects of life, whether social, political, or economic, or scientific. At the same time, it should remain a world without borders for the diversifications of national characteristics, religious and national features, which includes both women and women, and highlights the concept of diversity, and where all types of conflicts that is deeply rooted in the current world, and makes it a world that is full of conformity and peace and justice, where it could create environments that could enhance and build the capabilities of all members of the society, so that to build a more advanced humanity that is flourished humanity wise and physically wise. Governments all over the world exert a lot of efforts, including the UAE, to ensure that all parts of the society and members of the society, especially women, in the current status of the human history. In spite of this, about the comprehensiveness of the life society, which only indicates or the appearance or the participation in a limited or specific activities. No, it should include the ability to reshape thinking, decision, and opinion in this field. The interactions in this field, and which is always discussed as a conflict or competition about share or authority, unfortunately, it creates no sort of division in the society or a conflict in the society. The current status of the world witnessed significant changes, unprecedentedly. It has been evidently clear that is an increasing acknowledgement among a lot of societies, and of the role that carried out by women in achieving peace, leadership, and participating in the life of society on all levels. Women in general has been under a lot of interest of the wise leadership, considering it half of the society, and she plays a significant role of the inclusions and sustainability, where the state tries to achieve and to study and analyze how to create environments that enables women and increase the awareness to enhance the concepts of equality and equal opportunities. On the ground, individuals as well as societies and institutions play a significant role. The institutional and social changes should be accompanied by change in values and human principles. In other words, building institutions and developing their practices that enhances equality between women and women, and enhances the concept and the principle of unity and equality, will make root changes in thinking and the hearts of human. We hope that consultants and discussions today will enrich the dialogue about the importance of equality between men and women as a main principle to achieve international peace, and enhances and helps connected to the more comprehensive objective to build a more integrated society ruled by the principles of justice and peace. On that ground, individual societies and institutions should consult and remind each other and answer some questions and some challenges which appears during our effort to achieve these principles on all levels of our lives, whether individuals or social wise. Questions such as: does a woman have a role in achieving peace, welfare, and social development? What are the obstacles that prevent women from participating and achieving her role in achieving this? What are the key principles that we should adopt in order to reach a common understanding about equality between men and women? What are the wrong concepts and misassumptions about the principle of equality? How discrimination against women will prevent the ability of women and boys to develop their capabilities, and how this will impact on the process of the development and welfare of the society. How the development toward this equality will achieve change on all levels, and development of intellectual lives, governances, and allocations of financial resources, development and welfare of the society as a whole. how institutions can spread culture between the two genders, starting from the family, education, media, and other fields. These are some of the questions that we should ask as individuals and institutions in all levels when we need and want to understand the concept of equality and how it will impact the development of the society. The achievement of complete equality between the two genders is an important requirement for peace, welfare, and development of the society and human development. Although that acknowledgement of this is still on a narrow scope, the denial of such equality will make injustice to half of the population of the world and will enhance some mishabits and customs that will may move from the scope of family to education, schools, to work and other fields. There is no genetic or scientific or biological basis that expresses such a denial. In order to achieve this objective, there are some objectives and principles that we should adopt in order to reach a common ground about the concept between men and women. The first principle I would like to share with you is the noble of human nature and human dignity. The process to find the objective and development of capabilities, peace, and development of society and taking decisions do not know nationality or identification. What makes a human noble and dignity is the noble human nature, and which cannot be featured as female or male characteristics. On that ground, it has deep impacts in order to enhance all the aspects of our social life. The intellectual and mental capabilities of women are not different from men. They are both equal on the human characteristics, and the complete symmetry or similarity on their physical features is not a requirement for their equality, since that equality is their they're similar in of the mental intellectual. These are some of the principles on which we build our understanding of the concept of equality. If we look back at history or the historical context, we find that the development of men over women in the past were for some social circumstances that are no longer exist in the current situation. The human nature is the basis now, and the old misconception that the lack of capability of women or the incompetency of women were not for her nature or for equal participation in the life affairs will not because of her nature, but because of the lack of education or lack of experience or the family members, and especially that she declines from conflicts where men and the physical strength is the only mean for control. However, now and after the doors of education are open for women and she has the experience to be on equal foot with the women and she has all the capabilities to sustain her family, there is no more any need to make any discrimination against women after all these obstacles have been removed. The second principle, which is based on the principle of equality, is the fact that our understanding of the unity of human origin, that we are all belonging to one big family and we all have this spirit that Allah has put in us, and it has all the intellectual capabilities for development and build civilization in this world. This comprehensive principle, which does not discriminate between individuals based on race, religion, or location or gender. We here talk about human being, and that's why that equality between women and men based on the unity of human people and human being. The understanding of the concept and on the principle of equality impacts about the adoption of the concept of development of women. So when we think about how we develop the capabilities of women, and whether it is important just for the development in the society. If we look about the bird example, the bird is a representative for the human being and human society. It has two wings, one is women and the other one is women. If the two wings are not strong and equal and have the same strength, this bird will not be able to fly and fly high. So the development of women has an impact, direct impact, on the capabilities of men and achieving his utmost performance. So it's mutual processes, and the development of the capability of men in equal with women. It's not a concept that we should engage women in life, and it's just one of the aspects of the current human status. Here I would like to ask a question, whether in society or for institutions, how can we empower all the society's individuals to think and contemplate about their own values and achieve the changes that should be made? What are the systems, structures, and environments that will support such changes? Among such important environments that should be enabled from the first beginning is the family. From the beginning of history, it has been agreed that family is the simplest unit for organization of a family. It is the social context where an individual is prepared to face the challenges of life. It is the place where a man started to learn to love, to be fair, to understand to tolerance, all the positive values that constitute the identity of a man or a woman starts with the family. Even equality of a man and a woman starts in the family process. How the parents bringing up their kids from the childhood phase. Unfortunately, it is the family itself through which that we can bring up negative values, so to be unfair, to be fanatic, to compete with each others based on the concept of being better than the others, and we have more preferences than the others. These are all behaviors that starts with the family. On the contrary, if girls starting from their early childhood and with the boys in the same way, in consultancy in the family and consultancy in all affairs, to take decisions and building the capabilities and giving them the proper education just equally to boys, and we engage the kids for the family affairs and house affairs. Through these practices we can develop their characters, and they will be more prepared for the work environment and to be more supportive and to look at women as equal to men in all fields. This is all starts with the family. In fact, when this and a point that has been proved by international experiences, when a man provides his support and his appreciation and welcomes that a woman works with him in all fields in society, so this significant positive change will start in society. In this way, the woman will not have a time to prove such issues. In the contrary, a man will be on the front line to defend the woman's rights. This will speed up the process. This is where it starts with the family. I don't want to talk much about it, but there is one more point I would like to say, that on the current being that the family is not the only member for bringing up kids. We have the mass media, we have the media, social media. They all impact the bringing up of children. While we focus on the family, we should reconsider the curriculum and the educational program and the subjects being taught. Does these curriculum and subjects provide the concept of equality of human being? Does it discuss the equality and the participation of all human characteristics in all aspects? Does this idea is available in educational process, and the importance of engagement women in all human life fields and aspects? These questions should be discussed in the educational process. I would like to end my speech in the field of media. Unfortunately, the current positive capabilities of media has not been probably used in order how to discuss the role of women and the family issues and equality between men and women, and focusing on the noble and dignified human nature. The question that I would like to ask about the role of media and different forms of media. What is the role of media enhancing the social positive change? How we can develop new media content that reflects the actual noble human nature? In fact, we cannot imagine that we can achieve equality between men and women by engaging her in different fields and structures of the current social structure, but we should engage and enable both men and women to build a new social structure based on unity, justice, and advancement and prosperity for all individuals. Thanking you, Dr. Rudia Thabit, the legal representative of the Baha'i community in the UAE. Now we move to Ms. Noor Al-Hisbi, the acting head of research and trends research and consultancy, to talk to us about the role played by women to achieve international peace, the impact of this role, and we can speed up its impacts that it will reflect on the general security of human in general. Peace be upon you. At the beginning of my speech, I would like to thank you here for being here with Dr. Ruya Thabit and Dr. Khalid Fayyad to discuss and talk about the role of women in building peace in the whole world. In fact, most of us understand that enablement of women is a key stone for finding solutions for a lot of social and economic problems, and a cornerstone for building peace and achieving tolerance and leading change for a more sustainable and secure future. The role of women in achieving peace in the world is the result of a century of effort of activists in achieving peace for women on the international level. This has been represented the outcome of what is known as the International Movement for Society of Civil Society for Achievement of Peace for Women. They organized a lot of protests against of the total damage resulted by the First World War. These efforts have been increased and repeated to enhance the role of women by UN Resolution 1325, which strengthens the role of women in building peace and peace processes and security, where the Security Council confirms for the first time that the participation of women in achieving peace and maintaining peace is very essential, and we should include the genders in achieving peace and security. In a recent study where Dr. Ruba Al-Marzouki mentioned, published by the UN, where researchers analyzed 40 peace processes starting from the Cold War. This study indicates that the cases where women could practice strong impacts on the negotiation process, there has been more chance to achieve an agreement more than the role of women were less impactful. The same study indicates that the possibility that sustainability and maintenance of peace agreement might be lasting for 2 years, might be by 20%, and might be increased to 35% for the maintenance of this agreement for 15 years. And the possibility of failure of peace agreements is less than 64%, where the members of civil society members, especially women, participate in the negotiations. Meanwhile, the Security Council called for its members to execute and plan national plans to achieve resolution number 1325. These includes the guidelines that should be adopted and adhered by the security member states, including, for example, the UAE as an example. The UAE has set a mutual and participating plans for the management of political affairs and the permanent management of peace for the UN to support the achievement of the agenda of the Security Council resolutions on women and the authorities affiliated to the UN. The enablement of women in peace and security and the enablement of women's roles in security and peace and preventing of conflicts and settlement of conflicts and peace preservations and maintenance is one of the key objectives the foreign policy of the UAE, where it launched in 2019 in participation with the UN Women's Authority, the Her Highness Sheikha bint Mubarak initiative to enable women in peace and security. Of course, there are challenges in building peace processes. Among these challenges is that the role of women in the settlement is very limited. Division among women on the major topics. The role of women is limited of negotiations about specific cases and issues, the logistics obstacles, the political corruption, that the participation of women in peace negotiations based on some of the countries based on selectivism and based on the backgrounds, and also in this female civil society in some countries. As for the future of the role of women in achieving peace, it shouldn't be limited to that it is negative recipients of assistance that achieves her happiness and welfare. It should, on the contrary, women should be activists to achieve the peace process through main topics and education. We should enhance all the possibility to achieve proper education and the educational policy through achieving equality and the opportunities on all levels of discriminations against women in education. The economic enablement, the economic aspect focuses on the importance for a woman to have job in the society and job opportunity in society, so that she can have support, enough funds to support herself and her family. Enablement of women in conflicts through consistent dialogues that takes into account privacy and the importance of engagement of women in the free negotiations before negotiation. Thank you for your kind listening. Thank you, Noor Al-Hibsi, the acting head of researches in trends. نستمع الآن إلى كلمة الدكتور خالد فياض حول العلاقة. Now we listen to the speech of Dr. Khalid Fayyad about the role of women in social and civil society and what is the impact of this role on the society. Now, Dr. Khalid, the floor is yours. Thank you. First, I would like to be excused because this is the first time to be on the platform. I am here a minority. I'm the only man who speaks among three very esteemed and respectable women. All what has been said really exceeded my expectation about what I was expecting from them. My main topic which I would like to talk about is the civil society and its role in enhancement and development of the role of women. However, I would like here to tell you a story or an incident that had taken place with me and one of the officials in one of the Arab countries. The topic we were discussing the case of the civil society. These persons who were very angry and seems aggressive against me. What do you mean by civil society? Do you think that this civil society is against religion? It's non-religious society, or those people who are not religious? You mean this? Or do you mean that civil society is against military society? I answered him, it doesn't have to do with this or that. The case for us is that the civil society has another concept or another meaning. However, and in fact, this person has some rights one way or another, because civil society in a big part of it based on equality and justice between the members of the same nations. There is no discrimination against any of them based on religion, race, or gender. So this has some impacts that the religious society may have preferences for some of the sectors of society against others, and he has also some rights when he thinks that this is against a military society, because that a military society is a society based on hierarchy and hierarchical orders and strict orders and taking decisions against the civil society. On the contrary, where civil society is based on the volunteering concept or the freedom of the individual to take decisions, the right decision. This makes us talk about what is exactly we mean by the civil society. We all talks about the civil society. The literature of the humanities define civil society as volunteering organizations that are non-governmental and non-heritage, that fills the general fields between family and states. This is very big definition which I cannot really understand. So what does it mean? Groups, organizations. What do you mean here? We talk about certain pillars of the civil society. First, it's a group or an organization. So a group of people that gather together and can say that we are a civil society. No. Organization assumes that you as an individual legal and subject to certain laws and constitutions of the country where you live, and you have certain internal regulations that organizes and regulates the rights and duties of the members of such a society. So the first pillar is an organization, and the second pillar is volunteering. It has two meanings. It means that the members decided voluntarily to belong to this organization with their own free will, so that they were not forced by anyone to be a member of this organization. On the contrary of the state you are forced to be part and to be subject to its laws, and also the religion. You are a Muslim, thanks God, so you are subject to the customs and laws and norms of such a religion. So since you are Muslim, you cannot convert from this Muslim under certain procedures which might have some consequences. On that ground, here's the concept of volunteering. You have the freedom to enter into or to get out of this organization, contrary to state or religion. And the second concept of volunteering is that you volunteer with your effort, work, thinking, intellectual for a certain idea which you believe in. So you volunteer. So this means that you get out of the idea of that working against certain payment or working with for certain physical interests. You are making this for a certain idea. This is the civil society. The last pillar, or the third pillar, is that it is an organization that is non-governmental. It is a non-governmental organization, NGO. So it means that when you are a member and you take your decision from your manager as the head of the sector, or the deputy of the head of the sector here, you are not subject to the hierarchy or the hierarchical structure of the state. Meanwhile, he's not heritage and he's not part of the heritage. What does it mean? Sorry that I pronounced the rah as in. So he's not tribal, he's not family-wise, he's not gender-wise. The tribe, the family, or the family, you are free. You are not free to belong to it. You are obliged to be part of this family or this tribe, or I'm obliged to be Khalid Fayyad, and she is obliged to be Rida al-Marzouki. So I cannot so I cannot say is this did the blood heritages obliges you. So the civil society is different from this. Why we say that the civil society is the best methods? Dr. Ru'ya Thabit talked about the role of family and media. In fact, I don't look at a civil society is the third road or approach to build the new civil states through which we can support all individuals of the society, whether men or women. How is that? The civil state, your honors, I don't want to get into a lot of issues or concepts. If I exceeded my time, please stop saying. The civil state is based on two main pillars. The first pillar is that it is a state based on fixed boundaries and limits. So, for example, the UAE, it has boundaries on the left, on the right, on the south and north, so on the east and west. So, civil states has certain borders, fixed one, that will not be changed. So we are here now we go to Iraq, now don't know to go back. No, it has fixed and clear cut boundaries and borders, and such state can defend its borders with all power it might have. The second pillar of the civil states is the citizenship, the equal citizenship. There's no difference between an individual and the others of the members of the nation based on gender or race or religion. On that ground, it is close one or another to the concept of the civil society, because we said the civil society is based on fostering equality, justice. All these pillars of the civil society are one or another parts of the civil state. So, enhancement of the role of women in the civil state is through the third road or the third approach. Why we say the third road approach? Because the communists and those who believe in communism, they say that in order to have a civil state, actually the state should have a centralized role and controlling role. Those for the capitalism and liberalism, no, they say no, you have to have a state should have a public sector and free market, and the state should be away from controlling these places. However, there are some people who are damaged by these two trends. The communism are against the individual interests, and the liberals are against the groups and the interests. So the civil society started to appear that we pay attention to the social aspect, the gender aspect, and the strata also sex aspects in the development process of human development. What is the difference between human development and economic development? Human development is based on the concept of citizenship, justice, equality, and so on. On the contrary of the economic development means that we can achieve certain development rates. The total domestic product is 50 million, now it's been 1 million billion. So what is about development of values, principles of the human being? This has to do with the human development. So here we can reach the concept that the civil society is part of the institutions of the national development that builds a third approach to build the new modern civil society and state through enhancement of the participation engagement of women. How is it engagement or enablement? Dr. Roya and Miss Noura say enablement. No, I don't agree with enablement. Enablement means is an idea, it means empower. So empower means in empowering or enablement. Who will empower? Someone from the external will empower women. However, someone else will support, a man or so will support enablement of women. State will support women enablement. You will give the projects, funds, and so on. Here, the main idea of the ability of women to carry out her own affairs and engage in the social life with power, with her own minds, with all her vision, with her own impacts. So, on that ground, empower has some defects. It depends on others to prove themselves. On the contrary, engagement on the political meaning and economic and cultural and social meanings is based that each individual will carry out his own or her own roles and duties based on her or his capabilities, with ability to develop his or her laws self-wise on a long term that is not short term. The civil society will enable a woman to do this, because a woman can achieve her freedom and does what she wants to do in this society. They can constitute and form the groups and certain associations where they can train themselves to accept the others. These are the three main values that are the main human values and principles, which are the three ones: the non belittling of the others. So that means that I do not belittle or talk down or think that this person is insane or until the psychiatrist proves this, and not to make the other as a treason until that laws and regulations and evidence are there and sufficient to prove that he is a treason, and not to make the other disbeliever until that the legitimate and religious authorities could prove that this. So that training a woman to carry out these issues, not to belittle, not to make another disbelieve, not to make the other treasons. These are human values and principles that enable a woman to enter into social life through certain platforms that can push her towards this. So why we say that the bringing up institutions cannot do this role? Dr. Ru'ya Thabit talks about family in a very hearted way, and I totally agree with her, confirming that the recent studies indicate that the role of a family in bringing up of the national bringing up does not exceed 10%. The role of the family has been in the background and not as big as the role of institutions such as the civil events, the religious institution, the mosques and churches, the educational institution. Consequently, here I cannot claim that a family carries out negative role. It is enough that the family has a role, a limited role that it carries out in bringing up an individual. If I have a problem with other institutions, the media institutions, the religious institutions, however, there remains the civil society, which is considered the free platform, the free volunteering platform through when women can can carry out an effective role in the society. We respect the educational institutions, but there are some educational institutions, I'm talking here theoretically, not about the Arab world or certain state or country. The educational institution still needs this to make a decisive decision about the relation between women and women, considering that a woman is part of the society and the culture of the society is based on the state. The civil state has two legs, a leg for a woman and a leg for women, and there is no one leg longer than the other. Sorry that I exceeded my time. I wish you all success, and I wish all success for a woman in all place and time. She's my sister, she's the spouse, she's the daughter, she's all members of the society through which we can develop. Thank you very much indeed, and peace be upon you. Thank you, Dr. Khaled Fayyad. At the end of our speech today, Trends Researchers and Consultancy extends its thanks for the distinguished speakers for their valuable speeches, ideas, and fruitful visions that enhance for the enhancement of the role of women in building peace. Peace be upon you, and thank you.